jump, obviously by myself once again. Cade gone. A lot of off-season stuff, mainly NBA, college football today, unless something pops in my head. But I want to talk about who, in my mind, will be the most surprising college football conference this upcoming season after all these moves, all the conference shifting, and then NBA free agency. We're now a couple days in. So I want to sprinkle in a little bit of that too. So with that being said, let's get straight into it. So NBA free agency moves. I'm not going to talk about all of them, obviously, because not all of them have the same amount of impact. I'm going to talk about some that I think make the most impact on their team that they're going to or the team that they're coming from. The main one of the offseason so far, Paul George is a Philadelphia 76er. Obviously, the talk of the town right now is, one, the Shea trade that I posted on the Instagram. That looks even worse now after Paul George wasn't able to complete anything in LA in his time there. But I think this fit in Philly is perfect. I mean, he's a great catch-and-shoot player. I think he'll play well with Tyrese and Joel Embiid, but this kind of feels like it's the end of the era of the process. And if this feels like the last move where it's like, all right, it's now or never. So it's kind of what it feels like to me. They gave him a lot of time on this contract too, but this feels like they're going all in, and we'll see how it goes for Philly. But I like the fit, I really do. But obviously, I think it's quick to jump to the conclusion of the Paul George Kawhi team being a failure in LA. Obviously, they didn't win a title, which was expected as they built that roster, but. I mean, they accomplished a lot of big things, and injuries were a huge part of why they weren't able to complete the mission. But Paul George headed to Philly, and the Clippers, I mean, it almost feels like a restart, keeping Kawhi. But other than that, I mean, they've picked up a lot of different guys, and they're rumored to get a few different guys. And there's a chance that the other star, Brody, might be leaving. But I'll talk about that here in a minute. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that was the youngest number one seed ever, and the youngest team to ever win a playoff series, and the team that loses to the team that ended up being the finals runner-up, the Oklahoma City Thunder, as good an offseason as you could imagine for them. They pick up Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein, and all that they give up is Josh Giddey. And Josh Giddey, he hadn't necessarily panned out. He had shown flashes, but the stable defensive presence that Alex Caruso will be able to bring, and Isaiah Hartenstein, honestly, but mainly Alex Caruso for perimeter defense, I think that's a huge pickup. And only getting rid of Josh Giddey, it feels like the Bulls took a huge L there and not getting a single pick from the team that holds 95% of the picks in the next 20 years, it feels like. But I think those two might be the difference. I mean, obviously it's still a really young team, and there's still a lot of time to grow, but, like, this is going to be, I think this is, like, what they needed. Like, they might be the best defensive team in the NBA next year. The number one team all year in defense was the team with the defensive player of the year, the Minnesota Timberwolves, but they brought their whole team back. So it's not bold to say that they'll be the best defensive team, but this team, I think they were like 4th or 5th in defensive efficiency last year, and they add a great perimeter defender and a good, solid rim protector in Isaiah Hartenstein, and a guy that can play defense on a lot of the solid bigs in the league. I think it's a huge pickup, and I don't know how the starting lineup's going to work. Like, I think you start Ihart, and then I think you start him with Chet, then the two bigs together. Chet plays a good modern-day 5, but I think he can play 4 or 5, then him and Ihart can kind of switch, and I think Caruso off the bench can come give you a good amount of minutes and just elite defense off the bench. So, this team is going to be scary. It's going to be awesome. Seeing what they do, and it feels like the Thunder can't mess up right now. Honestly, that's what it feels like. Just watching from the outside in. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, old Kenny Pope, he's headed to Orlando. Got himself a ring, and then he's headed now to Orlando, where this is a place where, in my opinion, he will get to shoot as much as he wants, because that team, it's a playoff team last year. The Orlando Magic, great season. Obviously have the rising star Paolo Banchero, but not a great amount of shooting. And Kentavious Caldwell-Pope has gone like 3 or 4 straight years now of like high 30% or 40s from three. And I think, like, obviously the shot creation, like, he's going to have to do a little bit more of it now, not playing with the best player in the NBA. But I just think it's a really good fit. And, I mean, they're paying him, but the Magic don't have much else to pay right now because all their players are young. They don't have many contracts to fill out right now. So I think it's a good move for the Magic. Makes me question for the Nuggets a little bit, losing him, but I'll talk about that here in a second as well. One of the other big moves, Klay Thompson to the Dallas Mavericks. The most interesting thing from this is the fact that, 6 years ago we were watching, or no, I guess 7 years ago, we were watching Klay Thompson versus Kyrie Irving in the finals. It felt like every year for the rest of our lives. Now they're going to be teammates. And he's also going to be teammates with Luka, one of the best players in the world at the time. So I think it's obvious Klay is wanting to get another ring. He had a chance to go to LA. He takes the spot with the reigning runner-ups, and I think that I feel like this isn't the end of Klay though. Like, I feel like that 0-10 that people have and the narrative that's put on him right now, people have forgot what Klay was, and I feel like this could be. It feels like he's hungry and he's going for more. So I'm excited to see how he fits in Dallas, and I think it'll be a good fit, and it'll end up working out. Chris Paul, he ends up getting waived from the Warriors, which was honestly the best thing for him because he gets to choose where he ends up going. Signs with the San Antonio Spurs. Obviously, it's towards the end of his career. Last year, not a great year for him, but it was good in the fact that it was a rare occasion of Steph Curry's basketball career where when he's off the court, the team is doing fine. And Chris Paul was a huge reason for that, coming off the bench and being able to lead that second group of guys. It was just, I think that was solid, and he did what he needed to. Obviously, he didn't go there and get a ring or anything, but it was fine. It wasn't the best CP3, but it's not the worst version of him. And I think going to San Antonio is cool because he can kind of be a mentor to Stephon Castle, rookie point guard out of UConn, and then he gets to be with the Unicorn. So I think being with Victor this young in his career, and obviously it was an issue last year not being able to get Victor the ball when he should have. And one thing about Chris Paul, no matter the age, he's going to get somebody the ball. Like that's what guarantee with CP3. And I can't wait to see it, man. Like, I think it's really cool. Like, this could be his last year. It's been a really fun career to watch CP3, but I think this is going to be making Spurs games more watchable next year because it'll feel like the game is under control. Because at times last year it was like, I'm not going to throw names out, but like there were certain players on that team that would like be way out of control, and it felt like at times it was like, dude, just feed Victor. Like, he's a 7'4" unicorn. Just give him the ball. But I think CP3 and the alien being together, it's going to be awesome. And I think it's going to be good for, like I said, Stephon Castle, and Rob Dillingham almost went there. I mean, he ended up going to Minnesota where he'll probably play right away more than he would behind Stephon Castle and Chris Paul. But I think Chris Paul is a really good pickup, and it feels like this is like a match made in heaven because it's like the smartest point guard in the game mixed with like a legendary, iconic coach and Pop. So it's a cool little mixture that we're going to get next season. I mentioned the Nuggets. They lost Bruce Brown last year. Not a massive deal. They were still, what were they, the 2 seed this year, I think. They lost a little bit, but it wasn't the biggest deal in the world. And now they lose KCP, and there's a chance that they might be getting Russ. So I don't completely understand the full path they're going, but losing Bruce Brown and then KCP, it's just like, it's a weird, I don't know. Like, it feels like everybody around them is getting so much better, and they're just staying the same or getting a little bit worse. Because, like, Christian Brown's going to have to step up a lot now going into year 3. It could be year 4. I think it's year 3 for Christian Brown. But, like, some guys are going to have to step up. And I mentioned getting Russell Westbrook. It seems like that is going to happen as of right now, as of the filming of this podcast. It hasn't happened yet. But Brody could be headed to the altitude. So, I guess, that'd be pretty cool. Like Russell Westbrook, Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon. Like, they'd have some star power. But I don't know. Russ played pretty well last year. We'd see how it would work with the likes of those other guys. And then for the Lakers, obviously, like, I'm not a Lakers fan, so from my perspective, they've missed on everybody that those fans thought they were going to get. They've struck out on everybody. LeBron said he was willing to take a pay cut to pick up somebody good. Everybody, it felt like Valanciunas was an option. He goes to Washington. Clay, he goes to Dallas. Zach LaVine, I don't even know if that was like a big talk. Donovan Mitchell re-signs. Like, it feels like all these names have kind of gone away. And the last one is the man that grew up a Los Angeles Lakers fan, DeMar DeRozan. So, I don't know if it would be the best fit, but you're getting a guy that grew up a fan, and he's from the area and probably would do anything to get that city another championship and tie him back up all the time. But, like I said, I don't know if the DeMar fit would be very good, but we'll see how it goes and if they end up getting him. And he's not the hottest commodity in the NBA right now, so I think you could probably get him for a reasonable price. But we'll see. It kind of feels like DeMar DeRozan is that last option because all these other guys have kind of chose that they did not want to go to LA and they wanted to stay away from there. And LeBron, he said he would be willing to take a pay cut, but he got a bag. I believe it was this morning when I'm filming this. So I don't know. The Lakers are in a weird spot, and obviously Dalton Connect will probably play right away as a rookie. And, I feel like they really need to add outside of that if they want to be able to win another chip in the LeBron era. But we'll see how it goes from here. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm going to talk about a certain conference in college football going into the 2024 football season. Obviously, it's been a chaotic past year and a half, 2 years of all these teams moving conferences and all this stuff. And it felt like the SEC and the Big Ten are just going to reign superior and nobody else will ever win a championship in anything ever, especially football. But I want to talk about the Big 12. The Big 12 is one of the most interesting stories in sports right now to me because they have picked up everything that they lost, in my opinion. I'm an SEC biased guy, but I'm a realist. So that's why I want to highlight the Big 12 here because I feel like they're not getting enough light. They lose Texas and Oklahoma, two of the biggest brands in all of sports, definitely in college football, two blue bloods, tons of national championships, and they take the brand with them. So who's going to fill in after that? So for me, I released a top 25, and I had 5 teams from the Big 12. The ESPN top 25 had 5 teams from the Big 12, and they weren't the same 5. I believe I had West Virginia, they had Oklahoma State, and I completely get why you would rank Oklahoma State. But obviously last season, Texas, in my opinion, Texas became back last year. 12-2, going to the college football playoff. What a season it was. Great players all over the field, high draft picks, everything. They would go 12-2 last year. They lose them. The third place team in the conference went 10-3, Oklahoma, and they leave. So, if you're going off last year's stats, the numbers say Oklahoma State would be the best returning team. They go 10-4. They lose to Texas in the Big 12 championship. And following them, a bunch of decent teams. Kansas goes 9-4 last year. Kansas State goes 9-4. West Virginia goes 9-4. But they add depth to the conference that I feel like doesn't get enough talk. So all those teams, they were decent last year, pretty solid. They'll be back. And all of those other teams that I named, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, West Virginia, those teams will be just fine. But I want to mention a few others. Colorado, the Deion show, prime time, they're back this season, and it feels like they're on a revenge tour because they got a lot of hate after last year. Maybe the biggest story in college football ever through that first 4 weeks, and then the huge drop-off. And they go 4-8 last year. And the issue was all of those losses, it felt like, ended up being decided in the trenches, which they didn't have, offensively and defensively, and they fixed both of them. So I think that's a team that you got to watch for in the Big 12 in 2024. Colorado, I think Shador's bound for a great year. Obviously, like a top 3 or 4 projected quarterback taken in the draft. Travis Hunter, one of the best players in America, Heisman potential. He's there. They pick up great transfers. They bring in a couple freshmen that'll play right away. I just think they're definitely something you got to watch out for. They're ranked in like all these preseason polls, it looks like. So I think they'll probably start the year ranked, and that's just a team I do believe has a chance to do something special. But they start out with a tough one, North Dakota State, and we'll see how it goes from there. But the schedule doesn't do them many favors, but we'll be able to tell early what Colorado will be like in 2024. Utah, in my opinion, the most underrated college football team in the country. Cam Rising returns, one of my favorite quarterbacks in college football. If you're a college football fan, this probably feels like it's Cam Rising's 8th year in college, but last year didn't play. I think a redshirt medical year, whatever. He returns this year, and what Utah was able to do last year with incompetent quarterback play, rotating guys, rotating both quarterbacks last year, what they were able to do defensively, like they were holding teams to like single digits and like 10, 14 points with just halfway decent offense, they would have been fine. And Cam Rising returns this year, and Whittingham has got that entire program on the rise, it feels like, every year. And I think they're a team that could win double-digit games next year, and it wouldn't shock me. So that's another team to watch out for. I mentioned Oklahoma State. They returned literally every person in Stillwater, it feels like. 85% of their roster came back. They returned 21 starters. It's unreal. Like, they returned 10 on offense, 10 on defense, and then one, I think it was their punter, is returning. Like, they returned everybody, and I think this is the year for Gundy, and they kind of, it feels like this is their time to shine because they've been in the shadow of that other team in their state, Oklahoma, and Texas. Obviously, they lost to them in the Big 12 championship last year. They lost 2 years ago when they would have had a chance to make the playoff to Baylor. I think this is a team you got to watch out for. Ollie Gordon, I know he's going through all the legal stuff right now, but he's got a chance to be a legit Heisman contender next year. And obviously, he's one of the best, if not the best, returning back in college football going into 2024. The Kansas Jayhawks. Jalen Daniels, another quarterback that was hurt, that would have put a team over the top, but they still did fine without him. They won 9 games without Jalen Daniels, and not the best quarterback play. It's safe to say that. They're returning 3 senior receivers. Most of their O-line, I think they're right or left tackle. One of them is a freshman, but most of the O-line is seniors, and it feels like the backups are seniors, and the backups are seniors. This is a senior-heavy team, and they bring back one of the best running backs in college football, Devin Neal, 1,280 rushing yards last year and 17 touchdowns, 1 receiving. And I think that duo of him and Jalen Daniels is going to be something to watch for in the Big 12, and it's something that people aren't talking about. And Devin Neal, one of the most underrated running backs in the country. Kansas State, this feels like a team that is the most underrated historical program because, like, Bill Snyder, what he did in Manhattan, Kansas, he built this outstanding program. He left, and then Chris Kleiman has kind of, it feels like, continued it. He's like, continued this ever since he took the job. It feels like Chris Kleiman has done a really good job. And they have Avery Johnson this year. And I want to mention Avery Johnson because he is so good that they let a guy walk that ended up being the guy that's going to be the starting quarterback for a top 3 team in the country this year, Will Howard to Ohio State. Avery Johnson's so good that they were like, all right, go ahead and leave. We'll be fine with Avery. So I'm excited to see how Avery Johnson does. It's definitely something to watch out for. Guy that can use legs. Great receiving core. They got a transfer from Penn State receiver. I can't remember his name right now, but really good roster. And they returned a decent amount. And Avery Johnson, the floor is his now. So I'm excited for that one. Arizona. This is one of the most interesting teams because it's a brand new coach, but they were somehow, I have no idea how, because most teams crumble. When a coach leaves, everybody leaves with him. Everybody transfers out. They bring in a new coach, Brent Brennan, from San Diego State, and they return their 2 best players, T. McMillan and Noah Fafita. And Noah Fafita is a guy that he's been getting a little bit of buzz. I've been seeing in the offseason. People are showing him love, saying a sneaky Heisman pick next year, and I don't think that's crazy at all. And McMillan, one of the best receivers in college football last year, went under the radar because the Pac-12 doesn't get a crazy amount of love. But I think in the Big 12 this year, playing some of these marquee games, like he'll get his shine this year, and people will really realize. And I think he'll probably be Biletnikoff. I think he'll be in the race for the Biletnikoff next year. So we'll see how it goes. Brent Brennan is the head coach there in Tucson. Yeah. Arizona's in Tucson. Arizona State's in Tempe, which I don't have Arizona State on here, but I do think Dillingham can be special as the head coach at Arizona State. I don't know if it'll be this year, because this year, like I said, all these teams are really, really good. They're old. They'll be fine. But I think give it another year for Dillingham down there in Tempe. Iowa State. This is a team that is intriguing because it's a name that a casual college football fan would know, because in the Brock Purdy, Breece Hall era, like they were 9 wins, making NY6 bowls. Or was it an NY6? I don't remember if it was an NY6 bowl, but they were winning a lot of games. And it was then in the Matt Campbell era. And then Matt Campbell last year had some very embarrassing losses, and they fell off like crazy. But they returned 19 players this year, and they have a quarterback named Rocco Beck. So with a guy named Rocco, I think you're going to be all right. I do think this year will be a lot better for Iowa State. Like I said, all those guys returning, you're bound to be at least decent. Last year was a nightmare of a season, I would say, for what Iowa State fans had imagined. And I'm excited to see what they do in this 2024 season. Texas Tech. They're going to need the defense to step up a lot, but I do think Joey McGuire, this is the year of the breakthrough. And Texas Tech just announced their branding with Adidas now instead of Under Armour, and the uniforms still look absolutely beautiful. So whatever they do to those uniforms in Lubbock, keep doing it, because it is absolutely phenomenal. And I want to mention Micah Hudson. I do follow high school recruiting quite a bit, and this was a guy that I had remembered, and then I've seen it on Twitter a lot, highlights of him going like practice or ones and stuff. Micah Hudson is a name to watch out for. I don't know if it'll be this year because he'll be a true freshman, but it's a name to watch out for in the future. And if it happens, you heard it on the Jump Sports on this podcast first. So Texas Tech will be fun. West Virginia, going into last year, it felt like Neil Brown. He was on the hottest hot seat possible, and they win 9 games. And Garrett Green is a big part of that. One of the most underrated quarterbacks in America, in my opinion. I just watched some of the Manning Passing Academy, and he makes some of the best throws there. Like the way he can anticipate throws, with all of the iconic names that were there, he throws one of the best balls in college football. And obviously, a lot of being a quarterback is what's between the ears. But if you've got the arm to fall back on, it's not a bad deal. And then UCF, I don't necessarily think they'll be very good, but they do have Gus Malzahn, got big game experience, and they bring in KJ Jefferson, one of the best quarterbacks from the SEC last year. So I don't know why I even put that on there. It was just to kind of remind everybody that maybe if you hadn't been paying attention, that KJ Jefferson did transfer to UCF, and they'll have a decent little roster. And I don't know. I think that's kind of my teams though. Because obviously this conference, the doors are open for a lot of teams. And with Oklahoma and Texas, 2 of the biggest brands in college football, being gone, it's somebody's conference to steal. And one of those teams that I mentioned could be the one to take it over and start a little dynasty in that conference. To wrap this up a little bit, to end the show here, College Football 25, they released a Dynasty Deep Dive the other day. Me and Kay talked about it a little bit. This legitimately might be the greatest game of all time, because the absolute, small details and, the pageantry, the traditions, everything about it is, perfect. That Dynasty Deep Dive, literally every little thing to the T for recruiting, it's amazing. And I mean, EA did say that they went and they looked up people's want lists that they wanted in the game, and they would do their research all over the internet to see what the people wanted in the game. And like we mentioned last week, Kirk Herbstreit said, "Hey, look, everybody is somebody's favorite team. We know that. And you can tell they really took that to heart. And, like, that's a huge part of why it's so amazing. And, I mean, the big difference between college football and the NFL is the traditions and the rivalries and different stuff. And they have really taken that and harped on it because, like, that's the difference there. And, I mean, it's been awesome to see. And that Dynasty Deep Dive, if you didn't catch that, go check that out on YouTube or on their social media handles or whatever. And I do want to mention, I bought the MVP edition, which has Madden included, but there's a chance this is Madden's funeral. So this game could end up killing the Madden franchise because there's so much in this game that you can love. And I know so many people that are way bigger NFL fans than college football fans. Obviously, I'm college over NFL, but all those people that are way bigger NFL fans are still as hyped about this game as anybody I know. So I'm super excited about it. The only flaw in the game, in my opinion, is that the road to glory doesn't start in high school. That's like the only issue that I see. So I guess I don't know how it's a road to glory without the road, but I guess we'll see how that goes. But that's like the only flaw to me. I didn't really care too much about the mascot mashup. That's not going to be in there. And then I guess one flaw for people, most of my friends play Xbox, and I have an Xbox, so it won't matter. But there's no crossplay on Dynasty. There's crossplay, I think, everything else. So for you PlayStation users that have Xbox friends or vice versa, sorry about that. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm super excited about it. As the recording of this, we're 13 days out. When this comes out, it'll be 12 days out. And man, it can't come soon enough. I'm going to act like a little kid as soon as that thing comes out. But that'll do it for this episode. A little off-season talk, and I'll probably talk a little bit about other conferences in college football and college basketball and whatever y'all want to see. So y'all just let me know in the comments. And go follow the socials. They'll be at the end of the video. And we've been putting out a ton of content over there, and I've been posting daily on Instagram, almost daily on TikTok, daily on Twitter. Like, go check those out. It means a lot. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, show all the love. It all means a lot and goes a long way. So have a great 4th of July. I didn't mention at the beginning. Have a great 4th of July. This comes out on the 4th. Enjoy the time with family. Enjoy just Independence Day in general and what it means for the country. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Have a great rest of the week and weekend. And peace.